Hey, what's up? I'm Andrew Richards.
Hey guys, I'm Luke Wozni, and we're talking about Predictably Irrational's chapters 4 through 6. So I'm going to start out with chapter 4. In chapter 4, it talks about market norms and social norms. To get this chapter started, it talks about an example of a man going to his mother-in-law's Thanksgiving dinner. Anyway, he gets to the Thanksgiving dinner, and it's a great platter of food, and offers the mother money to pay for the Thanksgiving dinner. Offers her like $300, and so the book talks about how the family thought that was very awkward that happened because whenever he did that, it placed a market norm on the Thanksgiving dinner. But then it talked about also how instead of he can give them money, he should have brought like a bottle of wine or like a gift of some sort. To be kind of more based off of the cultural norms that we have in society. So then it goes on to talk about...
Can I interject on that real
Yeah,
quick?
absolutely.
All right, so, we've all been in that situation where, we've gone out to eat with, like, family friends or something like that, and you feel like you want to pay your way. So I kind of understand where in the example where the guy was coming from. But, yeah, I think it would be better to offer something that's not monetary, such as a bottle of wine, or maybe you bring your own dessert for the dinner. So that's where like a social norm comes into play, and you want to be respectful, but you don't want to be pushy. And I could see in the example how $300 is kind of overboard for a dinner. So that's just kind of
right. I would agree with you, Andrew. I can use an example from my life. So say if somebody came over to our Thanksgiving dinner and offered our family $300 for a Thanksgiving dinner, I mean, I'm sure I would take it, but my parents who cooked the dinner probably would think that was a little weird.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they would much rather appreciate somebody bringing like a dessert, like you said, or maybe like a gift or a bottle of wine, just to at least show that they're appreciated, but not to show them that, hey, here's $300 because I know that you cooked all this food. So anyway, then the book moves on to talk about the experiment. There was a circle on the computer screen from the left side, and there was a box on the right. The people doing the experiment were either doing it for free, they were getting paid 50 cents, or they're getting paid $5 to move a circle into a box. And so what this did was it tried to find out what level of work basically people put into doing this task, based off of how much they got paid. And so the people who did the experiment for $5 dragged an average of 159 circles. Those who did it for 50 cents dragged an average of 101 circles. And then those who did it for free did it more than that. So they were about closer to the people who did it for $5, but they were definitely exceeding the people that did it for 50 cents. So this showed that if somebody's doing a task and they're doing it for not as much money as they think that they should be doing it for, they're not going to put in as much work as they think that they should do. So it also talked about how when people are doing something voluntarily, they're going to maybe put some more work into it. It's going to be more valuable to them. But then it's also on the same lines of the people getting paid $5, like they know that that's kind of like the higher end of the deal. So, okay, I'm getting paid a lot more for this. I should be putting in a little bit more effort. So those are like the two kind of lines that this experiment touches on.
And then, so piggybacking off of that, in Chapter 5, we're given the example of changing a tire. And so they said, like, for example, the person offered to do it for free, and then another time someone offered him $3 to change the tire. Or he wanted to change the tire, and then he was tried to give the person $3 for compensation of changing the tire. And like personally, I would like if Luke's tire was changed and say he doesn't know how to change it, like a normal person. I'm just kidding. But I would. It's almost kind of like insulting if you give just $3 for changing a tire, because it's probably worth more than that. But it's just kind of like if you're giving someone $3 for changing a tire, it's like that's what you think it's worth.
Right.
It's almost more insulting to give the money rather than just being like appreciative for them performing that action and changing a tire.
Right, and the book touches on that. They're saying once you put a dollar amount on something, it's basically changing it from a social norm into a market norm, or a market, basically a market norm. So once they put that dollar amount on it, they immediately think, okay, well, how much am I getting paid for this? So it definitely takes into effect of how the amount of money that you pay somebody to do something can affect how much they work for it. And especially if it's $3, like Andrew said, then they're going to put that that marketplace on it. And they're going to compare it to what other prices they should get.
That's actually a pretty good transition into chapter 5 and how the first example they give is like the wedding dress and running of the brides, kind of like the running of the bulls. And they talked about how this company put wedding dresses on sale from like $10,000 down to like $200 to $600, which is crazy markdown. So all these brides gather up outside this store, and they just go in. After all these dresses, they'll have their friends, they'll have their family members. They all have this dress they're looking out for. I don't know if anyone's watched Friends, but there's a Friends episode where Monica, Rachel, and Phoebe all run in and are trying to find this certain wedding dress. And so that's an example of what money can do to someone's state of mind. So when the dress was $10,000, these brides, a lot of them probably couldn't afford that. And then when they see that their dream dress that actually was $10,000 being marked down to between $200 and $600, people start making decisions off of those monetary figures. So it's just kind of like a market norm, like Luke was talking about. You kind of see how market norms and social norms interact in like a situation like that. So then another thing in the chapter 5 was about starburst. I found this very interesting because they gave the example. They did a study at MIT, and it was just they had a stand in basically the student union, and they were giving out starburst for 1 cent. And they tracked it for an hour, and they said that only 58 people showed up to buy these starburst for 1 cent. I mean, it's a penny. So, and then the next hour, they gave them away for free, and 207 people showed up. So it's crazy, just even like the small amount of money that someone would like think about giving for a starburst. Like that was the huge difference in 207 people going for free and 58 going for 1 cent.
Right.
Like it's just crazy different. Like I can't.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that chapter 5 and chapter 4 kind of are like in the same boat a lot. They touch on a lot of the same topics, like what Andrew was saying. Whenever they put that market norm on that 1 cent starburst, even though it's just 1 cent, people are going to compare it to other prices, and so it definitely is going to have an effect on the way that the consumer is going to come up and purchase the product, even though it's just 1 cent. You can tell that that's a huge difference because of the drastic changes in numbers of people that went up and bought the starburst from the people that went up and got it for free. So Andrew, the real question is, what did you think about the sex talks in the book?
You know, they got super descriptive in chapter 6. It was kind of uncomfortable to read. I don't know if I've ever been so uncomfortable reading a book. But yeah, they got super descriptive. And, you know, the underlying theme is just about rational and irrational decision making. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what the study was about was, you know, they put these kids in a cold state of mind where they're not aroused, and they put them in a state of mind where they are aroused. And they saw just different data come in by the state of mind that they're in. Right. And that's basically as far as I'm going to get into that because, you know, it's kind of weird. Yeah. But I did find something very interesting at the end of the chapter. It was about how teenagers are 40% more likely to getting crashes than adults. So what do you think about that? Like, I would agree with that. Yeah, to be completely honest. Yeah. Like, I can't. There were so many wrecks in high school, because just like teenage drivers are just so bad. They don't, you know. You get a year to practice with your permit. I mean, in Missouri we do. But honestly, that might not be enough time. Maybe they need to give permits at 14 so kids can learn for 2 years. Because it's not something you can just jump into. Driving is a crazy thing. Like it's normal for us now because we're 21, but when you're 16, it's a scary thing out there. Yeah. And then there was one other thing that they said about precautionary measures, for a 16-year-old to have a car that, like, if they're driving too fast, to change their song to, like, some symphony or have them call their mom. I don't know if I completely agree with that because then kids will be driving scared, and you're driving scared, you might as well just be driving. You're basically driving bad if you're driving scared.
Right.
So I agree with that part of chapter 6. I think that maybe a good idea would be to have these kids start driving or thinking about driving when they're 14 and practicing then, instead of these weird precautionary measures like calling your mom when you're going 65 on the highway. I think you're just putting your kids at a disadvantage by doing that.
Right. All right, guys. Well, that's the summary of the chapters 4 through 6 that we have. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.